Hello students, Mr. Young here today with our lesson on the Crusades. So the Crusades are an often overlooked little corner of history, glossed over, and even today a little controversial, and therefore avoided. We're not going to avoid it, but we're going to stick to facts. Today I give you the Crusades. So today's lesson in terms of content from the book, there's not much. But there are whole volumes written about the Crusades. You have books from the Christian perspective. You have books from the Muslim perspective. The unbiased perspectives, allegedly unbiased perspectives. There's all kinds of different perspectives. I read a few, and there are all kinds of cool stories from the Muslim perspective and from the Christian perspective. There are a number of movies as well. I encourage you to maybe check them out. Off the top of my head, I remember Kingdom of Heaven was Orlando Bloom back when he was like very popular. And then there's this movie on Netflix. I think it's on there right now. It's super long, but it was really cool. It's a foreign flick. It's about Arn, the Knights Templar. Alright, I'm going to give you the book version here with a little extra, and I'm going to insert a video called Crash Course in History. I think we've used them before. It's an excellent video, and although I've disagreed with John Green in the past, he does a pretty on-point telling of the Crusades. It is informative, entertaining, and unbiased. Hopefully it's down there. Yep, there it is. So check that out after this reading. Alright, into the breach. Here we go. The quick Yun version of events. Here's what happened. You have Islam expanding, and they start expanding into Byzantine territory. Now we learned that the Byzantines they weren't doing that well. They had things like they expanded too far and couldn't afford the large standing army needed to defend their territory. And then there was Justine's plague that killed a whole lot of people. So even though they're Orthodox Christians and the Pope is Roman Catholic and they don't listen to the Pope, they ask the Pope for help. They're like, oh hey, we're being invaded by Islam. We're Christians, help us. And the Pope says, okay, I'm going to help you out. And he was really thinking this would be a good way to distract all of Europe from fighting each other, uniting against the common enemy. And maybe when we're all done with this mess, we can bring these Orthodox Catholics back into the fold of the Roman Catholic Church. That's how he's hoping it would pan out. On top of that, the main idea was to take back Jerusalem, the Holy Land. Now here's where some problems develop. Islam had control of Jerusalem for hundreds of years, and it hadn't really been a problem because the Muslims that had been in charge of Jerusalem were pretty tolerant of Christians living in their city and visiting their city. They had to pay a tax, but it wasn't violent or anything. And a new group of Muslims, the Seljuk Turks, take control of Jerusalem, and they're a lot less tolerant, and there's some incidents, and this basically serves as part of the impetus for the Crusades and one of the stated goals. Now we got to take Jerusalem back. That's what they say. Why is Jerusalem holy? Well, it's holy to all kinds of people. To the Christians in particular, it's holy because that's a place where Jesus Christ was very important to them, was crucified and died, and then was resurrected. All right. So now we've gone over that. We have the reasons for the Crusades. Now, the short story is the Pope goes to the nobles and the people of Europe and says, we need to have a crusade to take back the Holy Land. And a whole bunch of people hop on board. A lot of nobles, a lot of peasants, they all march down there in the First Crusade. And basically in 1099 there was a siege of Jerusalem. They make it all the way to Jerusalem through some miracle. They took the city, and then they promptly sacked it. Now, the sacking of Jerusalem by the Crusades is a well-known and documented historical moment of barbarity. But sacking was common on both sides of this war, and it was a fairly, especially when a city surrendered. That was standard operating procedure. If the city won't surrender, you sack the city when you take it. It's almost like punishment for not surrendering. So they took Jerusalem, and then they took chunks of land around Jerusalem. A lot of what, if you look at these kingdoms, kind of like what makes up modern-day Israel. They took control of, and they broke it into a number of Christian kingdoms, like Antioch. There's Byzantine right there. You see Tripoli, Kingdom of Jerusalem, Edessa, and Armenia. Here's the problem, though. These new kingdoms cannot ultimately be held. You can see they're surrounded. They've got the Seljuk Sultanate here, Seljuk Empire, Caliphate down here. They're surrounded by enemies that want this land back. And with the Holy Land taken back, a lot of the Crusaders, people that came to fight, went back home. They went back to Europe. Like, mission complete. We came what we came to do. Now we're going to go home. That, and there was dwindling monetary support. These were almost like colonies that needed constant support from back home, and so when they didn't get that support from back home, they were destined to be lost, and that's essentially what happened. In a series of offensives, more crusades, Western Europe lost control of all that territory. In the Middle East, part of it was lack of men and money, but it also had a lot to do with the exceptional leadership of the Muslim general and leader Saladin, which I have a link here to his wiki. Everything you need to know about Saladin is there. Excellent leader. Well, he had a lot to do with it. In terms of lasting effects of the Crusades had multiple effects on Europe. A great many nobles left to fight in the Crusades. They were the knights. Sometimes they had to sell their land for money to take the trip, and sometimes when they did this, they would let all their serfs go. We said serfs, not quite slaves, but they couldn't leave. Some of them were set free by their lords when they left to go on the Crusades, or their lord got killed and never came back, so now they were free. This happening over and over again with all the nobles that went left nobles in general with less power. This power struggle between kings and nobles is something we've talked about before, and so the Crusades helped push the power in favor of the royal monarchy of the kings throughout Europe. Traveling also opened the eyes of Europeans to the intellect and goods of the Muslim and Byzantine empires. So you've got the spread of not only goods but inventions, things like the compass, as well as other academic things. And then there's goods from the East, things like spices and stuff like that. Alright, that's the quick version, but more than's in your book, and if you take a look at this awesome video, there's even more information that's pretty awesome. Your assignment today, here we go. Answer this question with complete sentences. What were the causes of the Crusades and what were the lasting effects? We talked about all those things, but if you watch the video, you'll get even more reasons that you can put down. I was saying specifically in here, you don't have to give me the textbook answer that I gave you in the lesson. You can look into it more and put different things if you like. So that's all for today. Tomorrow we pick it up again with lesson 4. That's all I have for you today. Good luck and let me know if you need anything.